Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're live from the OHSAA offices, and we have DragonFly folks online, as well as OHSAA staff. Today, we're going to give you an update on the transition to DragonFly, and I will start with our agenda. So we're going to go over a few reminders and reviews, including why the change and what the transition plan is and what it means for each of you, our stakeholders. We'll also review the current timeline and the progress we've made to date, and then review the training schedule and answer some of the questions that have come in and will continue to come in. So if you do have a question this morning, I encourage you to put that in the chat, and we will facilitate that and get to as many questions as we possibly can. Also, as a reminder, this call is being recorded, just like last week's call was recorded, and we are showing here the link to last week's call. And we will publish this week's call as well. We'll get that out to you in the next few days. We also have links to the frequently asked questions from last week and this week, and we'll continue to update that. We will host these calls every week through at least June 1st. I have published the link to next week's meeting here on the slide. Ronald will be putting these in the chat, or you can just take a picture of this slide using your phone, and then you'll be able to refer back to this. Also, as a reminder, to continue to use Arbiter through the end of the current school year, June 30th, and then we will begin using DragonFly on July 1st. For those that don't know, I'm Laura Vermilia, the controller here at the OHSAA, and I have been tapped to be the project manager and kind of coordinator of all things during this transition. So I'm giving you my email address. I will try to get back to you within 2 business days. If you do not get a response, you may want to shoot me another reminder, and we will get back to you. So for review, why the change? So here at the OHSAA, we've been searching for a single technology solution that can cover all things officiating. Right now that's in multiple systems, OHSAA and Arbiter, and actually an Excel spreadsheet. So we are looking for a one-size-fits-all solution. We also are looking for something that's configurable and can be customized to our unique Ohio needs for all of our stakeholders, for you, the schools, assigners, and officials. Improved customer service to you, the athletic directors, assigners, and officials. Also newer technologies. A lot of technology changes have happened in the last 10 years. And we're looking for a more current platform, and to reduce some manual work that just occurred through the process of, or the nature of having these in 3 different systems. There was a lot of manual work done since there was no integration between those systems, and then flexibility of contract terms for you, the schools, and also obviously providing the best value of dollars being spent. So what is the transition plan? Our plan is for DragonFly and OHSAA to work together to do the heavy lifting to ensure that all future game contests and officials assignments for each school and the OHSAA will be transferred into DragonFly. That means for anything July 1st of this year forward, we will do the heavy lifting to get that information out of one system and transferred into DragonFly. We do not want to burden schools with having to key in that information, schools or assigners to key in that information. All officials renewals and registration for this year will remain in OHSAA for the upcoming period. However, the profiles and licensure information will be imported into DragonFly. So all officials will have a profile in DragonFly, and as they begin the renewal process on June 1st. In OHSAA, we will import that into DragonFly as well. So all eligibility will be maintained in DragonFly. School data, conferences and facilities will be imported from OHSAA into DragonFly. Assigner roles will be set up in DragonFly, and schools and assigners will continue to use Arbiter through the end of June. As we transfer this data from one system to another, there may be a blackout period where the games and assignments that are in there from July 1st after cannot be edited, changed, or deleted, so that we can ensure that we have a clean cutoff as we transition that data. We'll make more announcements about that as we get closer to the time. And then obviously one of the most important things is providing you with the training that you need. So right now today, you can go to DragonFly Academy. There's a specific Ohio landing page, and we'll be sharing that in a minute. You can do that today. You can also on the DragonFly site request a live web meeting that will be a small group meeting customized to your questions and needs. And then coming soon, we'll have the live in-person regional training. We're going to share some of those dates today. We will also train the trainer, so train other trainers who can train one-on-one and in small groups. And then we will have some Ohio-specific webinars and other training posted on the DragonFly site. So for athletic directors and assigners, the DragonFly platform will handle the game scheduling and assignments at all levels, whether that be varsity, JV, freshman, 7th and 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, scrimmages, tournaments, league, non-league. All those can be handled on the DragonFly platform. As a reminder, schools are required at a minimum to maintain the varsity level input of games in the OHSAA approved technology, and beginning with this coming school year, that technology platform is DragonFly. Assigners and schools are required to use OHSAA licensed officials for their contests, and the DragonFly system will be the will house all that eligibility and will automatically check that. You can also, we've gotten questions, you can also use DragonFly to assign non-OHSAA school events, so such as camps, summer leagues, colleges, things like that. That is at no cost to you. Also, schools can pay game workers in addition to officials using DragonFly. And then once the data transfer is complete, we will ask you to validate games and assignments. So we have asked a few weeks ago in a notification to administrators to make a copy of the game schedules you currently have in Arbiter and the assignments, and that will help you do this data checking so that we can make sure we captured everything. I just wanted to review school finance quickly. I know there was some confusion and treasurers didn't receive the first memo that went out, but we sent a separate notification to treasurers last Friday. So just wanted to go over some of the highlights here. There is no software license cost to you or to the OHSAA to use DragonFly. School treasurers can also log in now. If they go to DragonFly Academy, there's a process posted there on how school treasurers can sign up, and there's a button for them that says finance, and they can set up the bank information. DragonFly can be used to pay officials and game workers. However, it is not required. You can use your own process, whether that's checks or continuing with Arbiter Pay. If you do choose to use DragonFly, the cost is $1.50 per official per day to use DragonFly. And then if you pay via credit card, there will be additional credit card transaction fees. You can load DragonFly with a cash account via bank account or check, meaning ACH or check, and the standard processing time is anywhere from 2 to 10 business days, depending on whether it's ACH, which is typically 2 to 3 business days, and check, which is 7 to 10 business days. You can have multiple cash accounts in DragonFly, so you could have one for football, or one for basketball, or one just for your game workers. It's very flexible, and you can add as many accounts as you want, which would help with your general ledger tracking and transaction reporting. And then DragonFly will send all applicable parties their 1099s at the end of the year, and there's no additional costs for that. As far as officials, official license renewal registration will remain in OHSAA for the upcoming period. However, you can log in and set up into DragonFly and set up your bank account information and link that DragonFly account to your bank account. And then once you've renewed, the second bullet there, once you've renewed in OHSAA, your profile and license information will be ported over to DragonFly, and you can go in and see that and review that. And then July 1st, you can review your existing assignments, and you'll start getting notifications to be able to accept and decline new assignments beginning July 1st. And then all payments to officials will start happening in DragonFly for most schools. Okay, so where are we? Since our last call, we've begun the transfer of data of OHSAA school contests and assignments. DragonFly has a file of that data, and both DragonFly and staff here at the OHSAA are reviewing that and verifying the data. We've also begun the transfer of the officials' profile information, and that is in progress. Soon we will be sending out instructions how assigners can begin renewing, reapplying, or applying in DragonFly. Typically that happens every May via hard copy pieces of paper. We are going to be setting that up in DragonFly so that you can go online and apply to be a certified assigner. So more information on that coming very soon. DragonFly has been in the process of setting up the assigners pool of schools and officials. You know, we've had some eager assigners out there who have already made contact with DragonFly and started to get those set up. What we are going to do going forward is we'll ask each assigner to go to Google form, complete that, and then that will be accessible to DragonFly, and they will get all your pools of schools and officials set up for you. So look for that information coming soon as well. Schools can go in right now and create their DragonFly login, whether you're an AD or a secretary or assistant to the athletic department or a school treasurer. Whatever your role is, you may go in and create your DragonFly login. You can also, schools, if you pay game workers now, you can reach out to them and ask them to create logins and set up bank information. You know, this can be done throughout the school year as well, but if you wanted to get a jump on it, they can begin creating a login and attaching themselves to your school. The one thing we ask is do not enter any game contest data or assignments at this time, because the data load is in progress and those will get wiped out or duplicated if you go in there and start entering data. So you can log in, your login will not get wiped out, but if you put contests or assignments in there at this time, that will get overwritten or create duplicates. So just to review the timeline, we shared this last week as well. We are having these calls with stakeholders every week. Those milestones are here along the bottom, calls with stakeholders. During that time, we're doing the data transfer as well as defining the requirements and configuring DragonFly for Ohio. We call it Ohioizing the DragonFly system. And then there's currently online training at Dragonfly Academy and Ohio specific landing page. And then here in June, we're going to be starting in-person training throughout the state. And then on July 1st, the most important milestone date, we can all begin using the system. We will hold additional trainings at the beginning of August for school personnel who were not able to attend in June, and also any new personnel that have come on board and we're not aware of the training. So we'll have in-person training there, as well as train-the-trainer one-on-one groups. So jumping right into training, you've heard me say Dragonfly Academy is available to you at any time. This is the link, dragonflymax.com/Ohio. They have very good videos on there, in addition to printed instructions that you can link to. And as I said, you can request a webinar, a live webinar. Starting in June, Dragonfly will provide live in-person training regionally around the state. We have a few of those set up, and I'll be sharing those dates here momentarily. We will be setting up many, many more. So do not freak out if you don't see your area or a date for you. We are just starting to get those nailed down. So we will have training in an area near you. We will record at least one of those trainings, and then that live training will be available most likely on the Dragonfly site to be viewed, and you can go back to it as many times as you would like. July and August, we will train the trainer who can then train small groups or have a one-on-one session with you. The recording will be available that I just mentioned of a live in-person training. And then we will do more in-person trainings in the beginning of August. You shared the link, great. Okay. So here's the current training schedule that has been confirmed. As I mentioned, there will be many more of these trainings. So these are the current confirmed dates and times. More will be announced. We have split the training for school personnel. So that's athletic directors, assistants in the athletic department, school finance. You can all attend these sessions, and these will be geared to you. Assigners, we have training unique to you. We are doing our best to schedule those in the evening so that you can attend those if you are working another full-time job. Like I said, many more of these will be announced with dates and times. The best place to get that information between now and next call is to go to OHSAA.org/meetings. You will need to register, so we know that we're not maxing out the capacity at these locations. Those meetings are not set up at this minute, so if you click right now, you will not see them. Our goal is to have those set up either by the end of the day or no later than end of this week, end of day tomorrow. And we will continue to add more classes as we get those confirmed. If you are a school in an area you do not see represented here right now, please email me, lvermilia@ohsaa.org, and we will try and get you scheduled if you are interested in holding a session for either school personnel or assigners in your area. We are happy to get those confirmed and set up. So jumping into some of the frequently asked questions, many of you have asked these throughout the last few weeks. This first page of questions here is actually a review from last week. So just wanted to highlight those. Will I be required to use Dragonfly? OHSAA member schools and assigners are required to use DragonFly for game scheduling and assigning officials for at least the varsity level sports. The DragonFly system can handle all levels, but you are required to use DragonFly for game scheduling and assigning for at least the varsity level. Schools and assigners are required to use OHSAA licensed officials, and DragonFly will be the system that will automatically verify this eligibility. Eligibility will not be maintained in Arbiter after June 30th. Next question. My school's in a contract with Arbiter that goes beyond July 1st, 2023. What do I do? Can I continue to use Arbiter Pay to pay officials and workers? So first, I would just ask you to review your school's contract terms because with Arbiter Pay, because each of those are unique and different. DragonFly system does have fully integrated process to pay officials and game workers, but you are not required to use it. We do not require you to use it, nor is DragonFly requiring you to pay your school or pay your officials via the DragonFly system. You can continue to use whatever method you use today. Arbiter has shared with us that they will release schools from their Arbiter Pay contract beyond this school year if a school wishes to do so. We also ask you to make an export of your and copy of your games and assignments from Arbiter. What do you do with that? We do not expect you to import that we are just asking you to make that copy as a best practice and for a backup purpose, and to maintain that copy when we ask you to verify data in the DragonFly system. We also encourage you to make another export closer to the end of your school year, or when, if you're leaving school at the end of the year, to catch any changes that you may have made between now and then, when you made your first copy and now. Okay. As an assigner, I typically reapply for certification each year. When and how will I do this for 2023-24? Again, this is what I was mentioning. We previously, typically we had sent out applications for you to re-up your assigning certification. This year you will do that in the DragonFly system. We hope to have information to you within the next 5 business days. Will I be able to assign league events such as cross-country, track, tennis, golf, and DragonFly and pay those officials? Yes, licensed officials and game workers can be assigned and paid in DragonFly for all sports, all levels. I assign games for non-member OHSAA schools, so schools that are not members of the OHSAA, and for colleges and universities. Will these assignments be transferred to DragonFly? Unfortunately, our priority here at the OHSAA is to transfer our member schools contests and games, and that is our first priority to get those accurate. So we cannot commit that we can transfer over any games that are not our member schools. In addition, we would have to come up with a different process to transfer that data, a different approach. So we're asking right now to plan that these other schools that are not member schools and those games and assignments, they are not going to be imported. So again, this is where the copy of your assignments and contests may be helpful. And again, this is just July 1st forward. How will I receive training? In-person live trainings are being set up throughout the state, both for ADs, school personnel, and assigners, and these will be led by DragonFly. We are also identifying ADs and assigners to work with folks in either small groups or one-on-one after the June trainings. And DragonFly will provide the train the trainer sessions and coaching to prepare these folks to work with you in these groups. And more will be announced about that. We'll be publishing who those trainers are, when they will be fully trained, and
We just had one question come up, and I think it's a good time to ask this one specifically. So if there are individuals who want to host trainings, what are the requirements we're looking for to actually be at that site to host a training? Does it have to do with specific capacity, hookups for projectors, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So great question. Yes, if your site is interested in hosting, we do need a space where people could comfortably use their laptops, whether that's a PD room or even a cafeteria, as long as there's outlets that we can get to. The training sessions are 3 hours. Some laptop batteries may or may not last that long. And yes, we would need to be able to project in some way. We can certainly bring a projector. However, we would need a way to project that the room could comfortably see. Most of the sites that have currently been signed up host anywhere from 30 to 200. So you certainly don't have to have one that's 200. One that's 30 to 50 would be perfectly fine. And we are committed to provide whatever training is necessary to assist our schools and assigners and officials during this transition. Lastly, will I be able to use my phone to change game schedules, get notifications, accept assignments, etc.? Officials and assigners have an app called Center for Official Services, or COS app, where assigners can assign from the app and officials can accept and reject game assignments. For schools, there is a second mobile app. However, right now the functionality is limited. So the desktop view is really preferred. You can access that desktop view from a mobile browser, but it is not a very good interface at the current time and requires a lot of pinching and zooming. So to get the full access of administrative game features, again, right now, a larger screen, such as a laptop or tablet, are encouraged. And if Brandon is available and wants to add more to this, Brandon from DragonFly, we're gonna open his mic.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. So not a whole lot to add there. That is the pretty accurate description of current functionality from mobile. Again, so we are planning a launch of a new app. Don't have an effective date on that yet. Again, don't want to commit to something that that we can't meet as we go through the data transition. Things like that are highest priority, getting your games over, things like that. There will be a new app, but as of today, you will have to, if you're on the road, and it happens all the time, we understand. On the road, you need to make a change, or you're out, at one event and need to check on another event. You will need to call the desktop version. You'll request that from your phone and your whatever web browser you happen to be using. And then again, as Laura mentioned, on your phone, it's going to be pretty squished, so you'll have to zoom and pinch to get to the locations. It will work. We have tested that, but again, just unfortunately not a great user experience, as Laura mentioned.
What about notifications?
So all the notifications will come through the DragonFly Coaches app is what we have now. Of course, the new app that we're planning and building kind of in the background that I mentioned will also have your notifications, but all notifications will come via email as well as a push notification to that app. So we're building that redundancy intentionally in case you have some of your school filters maybe filtering out some of those emails and things like that. So that's kind of the reasoning behind having both the notifications coming through your mobile app as well as your email. So we've got, can kind of ensure that you're getting it in both directions. And of course, again, if you need to make a change based on that notification that you receive, again, you can either log in on your desktop or your tablet, and you pressed in any of those kind of urgent scenarios, you will be able to, as I mentioned, call from your mobile app, the desktop version.
Okay, those are the FAQs. So just so you're aware, as we get those questions, the FAQs that I just shared there, we will get those updated on the master FAQ list within the next 24 hours. that link we published earlier. It is also available under the school resources tab on the OHSAA website. About halfway down on the left-hand side, there's a link that says DragonFly FAQs. And so those FAQs will live there in perpetuity until we're through the transition. All right, I believe we have had some questions, many questions come in that we're happy to answer. So, Ron.
Okay, thanks, Laura. So Brandon, these are actually going to be a majority for you. Have about 10 right now in the chat, but if others roll in, we'll keep with those as well. So just a few technical questions, kind of right off the rip. The first one we've gotten a couple of times is if a referee doesn't want to provide banked information, are they able to be paid in a different fashion?
So historically, we have not done that. We haven't. I'll be honest, that's not a conversation we've had with the OHSAA. In previous instances when that has occurred, what we've done is transfer your money either to your local group through your assigner or back to the state association, and then have them cut checks if they're doing that. We are not, as far as contest officials, we do not and have not historically offered checks. We do require the ACH version. Now, again, we understand special circumstances require, special special circumstances do require that we adapt to that in some ways, but by and large, you will be required to enter your bank account information to retrieve your money. And again, in special situations, we will work around that if needed. Again, that's the conversation that we'll have with the OHSAA, as we're not really in the game of issuing hard copy checks.
Brandon, let me weigh in here. Payment from schools is decided by the schools. If they've chosen DragonFly, then you need to be in DragonFly and your ACH must be in there to be paid. If you're going to work any tournament contest for the Ohio High School Athletic Association, we're paying through DragonFly. So your information must be in to be paid. That's a choice you make.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bo. Another technical question for you, Brandon. Are assigners able to modify officials' fees?
Yes, and so I appreciate you offering that back up, Ronald. So let me clarify my statement from earlier. So when on the mobile app version, so assigners will be able to modify their any of their game assignments, things of that nature, from the Center for Officiating Services mobile app. So I want to offer that clarification there that I don't think I made clear earlier. And as far as the game fees, yes. So our intent is to go ahead and set up any of those conference fees that we already know and can get ahead of time. Again, that will be part of what we're gathering heading into training. After we get that set up, obviously we will ask that you check those. But if you need to make modifications or add new game fee policies for special situations or tournaments or different levels, or maybe those change headed into the new academic year, you get those changes approved from the time that we set those up initially. You will have the interface to be able to do that on your end as an assigner. And then any schools that really aren't a part of conference constructs kind of do their own negotiations back with the assigners and the officials. You will also be able to modify those on the school side as well. And then from even the kind of default policies, any special circumstances that may arise where you need to edit game fees prior to payment because it's more of a one-off instead of a kind of a batch change that you would need to make, you will be able to modify those game fees at the point of payment as well. So have several different options for those default fee modifications, as well as modifying at the time of payment for special circumstances that arise.
Awesome, thank you. So this might be a question that is tackled by both Laura and Brandon here. So had a couple of folks reach out and indicate that they're using Arbiter currently for coaching records as well as student eligibility records and whatnot. The question is, one, can you do that in DragonFly? Two, will that information roll over to DragonFly in our data transfers?
So in the data transfer, no, we are just grabbing game contests and assignments As far as those other records, again, I would say look at your arbiter contract, because that software license that we pay for on your behalf does expire on June 30th. So I am not sure if that will continue to be accessible in arbiter.
And then Brandon, can you talk a little bit about the functionality for coaching records? I think specifically is the big one. And then I know student eligibility records is kind of out there as well.
Yeah, so that is part of what the DragonFly software offers. Now, in our conversations with Laura, with Doug, Ronald, and OHSAA, that we will not be the source of truth for those things. That will still live in my OHSAA and the transition plan that's going on there. Our focus at this point is the data migration, getting that stuff over, game schedules, officiating. It will be there and available to you. And I guess I don't have a perfect answer as we still go through this. It'll be offered inside our software. I do know that it will not be the source of truth, and those items must still live in my OHSAA for compliance with OHSAA.
Thanks, Brandon. So a good segue into officiating information kind of flowing over. Had an individual ask, what if an official has already set up an account or has an account in DragonFly, so they might have been using it in the past? How are you going to keep those officials from having duplicate accounts?
Yeah, so we've got kind of our data confirmation plan, as Laura mentioned, that we are finalizing there. So we're going to match you up based on your My OHSAA ID. And so, that will prevent kind of duplication, because we'll actually have the user verify that account information on your end, so that we get that kind of two-factor authentication from your side of the equation. So again, we'll match it up based on your My OHSAA ID. That will prevent you from creating a new account or having a new account or having to create a new account as you make that transition over. So if you've already got an account, we'll still match it up and pull the records over from My OHSAA, verifying with that My OHSAA identification number.
So sticking with the officiating side of things, can you expand upon a little bit? I know we did last week, but have some new folks with us today. Can you talk about the $1.50 transaction fee and how that operates on that per day, per official basis, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so different than maybe some other systems that you've used, or just kind of how the model typically works. So we attach that $1.50 per official per date automatically, kind of within the background of the software. And so the easiest example of this, I think, volleyball is a fall sport, so it'll be kind of the first time we run into this multiple contest situation. So if you have, maybe you have 3 volleyball officials that show up to call 5 matches on that particular day, it will be $1.50 times the 3 officials that showed up, regardless of the number of matches that were covered that day. So if they rotate in and out, or you have 2 that are there for 4 matches and the 1 that's there for 1 match, it does not matter the number of matches. You don't have to count that as you go into your budgeting and kind of looking and cost comparison. It will be that $1.50 times the number of officials that were there on that date. And even if you've got, we do have, it's very rare, but on occasions, maybe you have an official that is calling across multiple sports on the same date. Again, that won't matter. If they show up and call volleyball in the morning and softball in the afternoon, it'll still be $1.50 per date for those officials, as well as your game workers. So again, if you're accustomed to paying those game workers electronically through your software, you'll continue to have that functionality. The same transaction fee will apply. It will be $1.50 per date per game worker. So if you have someone, again, that shows up to cover a track event or something, in there all day, will not matter the amount or the number of contests that they were a part of, or the sport or anything like that. So $1.50 per payment per date, I guess is, so we include the game workers as well as the officials on that.
Thanks for that insight, Brandon. Bo, this might be a question for you in terms of when information will be coming out, but had a few officials in here, and they're asking when will more information be coming out to officials about setting up accounts, signing up for training, whatever it may be. So I'll either refer to Bo or Angie on that.
Angie, if you have anything to add, let me know. We're in the process of kind of setting that schedule. We're sensitive to the fact that officials will be renewing on my OHSAA starting in a couple of weeks. So you may get something by the end of May to start that process. You can always go into the DragonFly site and click around and set up your account. That is not very difficult, but we want to give you some specific instructions on what we need moving forward. But we know that in 13 or 14 days, officials are going to start renewing, and we want them to concentrate on that as we get other information out. Angie, anything to add?
I think just that we did notify all officials last week when we sent everything to the assigners in schools. So that was the introduction to DragonFly, and then also the next day instructions on how to export their schedules from Arbiter.
If I can, I'll add from the DragonFly side of the equation. We are, again, as Laura has mentioned multiple times throughout today's meeting, we are offering webinars for those, officials and assigners and school personnel. We're running those daily. So, encourage you to go to dragonflymax.com/Ohio, find the information that is relevant to you. And that will help you, even if you don't set your account up now. It will walk you through, especially from an official standpoint, to have great resources for printing instructions and videos that you can watch from setting up your account, setting up your blocks, accepting your assignments, where will you find your, your crew information if you need to contact them, game documents, things like that. It'll just kind of walk you through and help you get accustomed to both the web and the mobile experience as a contest official. And then, as has been mentioned by the OHSAA, the eligibility information will run through my OHSAA and be passed over to DragonFly for you guys, so you won't have to worry about that registration process outside of setting up your account.
Thank you all for that insight. So I have a question that I'm actually going to pass over to Laura. This one, had an individual reach out and indicate that they had an assigner at some soccer games yesterday. Is that okay that they've done that? What's going to happen with that data whenever the transfer goes over? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, that's fine. That's no problem. We're still using that system. We have not transferred over to DragonFly yet. There will be a data grab at some point in the future that we will grab all the contests that are out there from July 1st forward. That date, we will hopefully announce that date on next week's call. But we have not grabbed the final file of data. So continue to put in your assignments and or games in the current system, and we will get you a date of when is the time we're going to grab the last load of data.
And Laura, so I might have read that question a little bit differently than you did. So what if they went in and put it in DragonFly? I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. What's going to happen when that comes over now? Yeah,
if they put it in DragonFly, that will cause an issue because we have not loaded. We will be overwriting data that is in there. So you are either going to lose that data if you've entered it in DragonFly, or you will now have duplicate games and assignments on that day, which will cause issues. The DragonFly system is just for you to get logged in. There are some test schools populated out there. Like I believe the name is Test School 1, Test School 2. Just be aware that officials who are untrained may get notifications if you're putting assignments in. Again, this will cause confusion and duplication. So the system is not prepared for you to begin entering data.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate the insight on both of those sides. Brandon, I'm going to kick back to you. I know we talked a little bit about it last week. Can you talk about the integration abilities with Dragonfly and other softwares? Specifically, we had a question about VNN, but I know there were a lot of questions about other softwares last week. So just talk about that a little bit and how you guys work with other companies and try to get those things integrated.
Yeah, so let me start with like kind of the Dragonfly philosophy here, which is this data does not belong to Dragonfly. You type it into our system, but it belongs to you guys. And so definitely with the OHSAA partners, but even more so the schools. I mean, this information is important to you guys, the athletic directors, specifically having the redundancy of entry with a game schedule change and things like that across multiple systems. So I won't say that we are perfect on being able to integrate with everyone that you're already working with. I will say that we are open if you guys bring that to us to integrate, and that's for sending things over. Again, the game schedule is kind of the easiest one to wrap your arms around. So to speak to VNN, yes, we have an opt-in where you guys can elect to send your information to VNN, so that way, again, for your websites and things like that, you don't have to make multiple changes. You can make that in your live game schedule inside Dragonfly, and we'll push that update to VNN. That same type of integration does extend, currently over to Hometown Ticketing, Max Preps, NFHS Network, if you happen to have and are working with any of those entities. I do know that we've had several questions around FMX as well, so those conversations have kicked off. Anyone that you have that you would like for us to be working with, please get us an email or sign up for one of those webinars that Laura has referenced multiple times. Let us know who it is. I won't guarantee you that we'll have that done on day one. We, again, are focused right now on the data migration and the Ohioizing of the system. But in general, our philosophy is it's your data. You tell us where to send it. And then, of course, kind of software philosophy for us is the reduction of that redundancy of entry. So as I mentioned, VNN, Hometown, Max Preps, NFHS Network are kind of ones that we've already got integrations with. There should be nothing more for you to do. And any ones that we need to be working on moving forward, you tell us where to send your information and we'll work toward making that happen for you.
Thanks, Brandon. A couple more technical questions on the officiating/assigning side. First, are assigners going to be able to change game details? Will it be schools that are changing game details, or is that kind of a combined effort on everyone's part? And I think Laura wants to talk on that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll just start off on that one. So those are the kind of things that we'll be definitely covering in training, is who has authority and the ability to enter and change the different details of game contests. So that will be covered in training. Dragonfly's system is configurable to each and every state, so each state can set their own rules around that. So we will cover that. Brandon, anything you want to add right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nuanced answer, as you can, as Laura's already kind of detailed there. So in general, what she said is great. You tell us, because there are instances where obviously you want the AD to load in the beginning. They have to verify their own schedules. Then, we do have lockout periods in which the ADs can no longer make changes, but must request those changes through the assigner. And those periods, again, are set at the state level per sport. Of course, there are no changes that can be made after officials have been assigned to kind of material parts of the game schedule, specifically date, time, location, things that will impact the officials that also must run through the assigner. So as Laura mentioned, this will make a lot more sense when we have it on the screen in training and can kind of walk through how the system works. The general, kind of blanket statement is you guys are going to tell us at which points ADs can make the changes and at which points the assigners need to make the changes, and then any of those alterations that will need to be made from kind of the software workflow perspective. That's part of the customization that Laura has referenced throughout the morning.
I had my mic muted there, unfortunately. So Brandon, I asked you a whole question and you weren't responding. I was like, what's going on here? But that was my mic. Apologize. One other question.
Yeah, see what was going on. So no worries.
Yeah. So one other question regarding data migration and functionality. Games that are currently linked in the current system, when those come over, are they going to be linked in DragonFly? And then later on, whenever they're creating games in DragonFly, are you going to be able to link contests?
The second portion of that answer is a definitive yes. You can link your contest just the same as you always have inside our software. The first part of that, without going and talking with my development team, with Laura, as again, she's kind of managing the data migration part of it. I'm not going to say something that I'm not certain of just yet, so I'll just leave it at I'm not sure. We're bringing over as much information as we can possibly get out of the previous system, and I can commit that we will assist you in making sure those contests are linked, even if it's not brought over. But I don't want to give an answer that I'm not certain of from what's being brought over from the previous system as far as the game linking is concerned.
Great. Thanks, Brandon. So Laura, I'm going to ask you one final question, and I think we will go ahead and wrap up. Had a school ask, will they need to have a bank account on file in DragonFly in order to receive a flat fee for hosting events? Will we be making those payments that way, or will we be making them a different way moving forward?
Yeah, good question. The DragonFly system's for paying officials and game workers. We have no intention at this time to pay schools for their hosting fee through DragonFly. You will need a bank account in DragonFly if you intend to pay any officials or game workers that way. Also, to get your cash, I saw a second question, to get your cash into DragonFly in order to pay game workers or officials, you can elect to send that via ACH, or you can send a check to DragonFly. They will have an address that you will send that to, and they will load that into your bank. But as far as hosting fees, those are still going to be paid via check, just like we do today.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Appreciate that. So that's where we'll wrap up the Q&A section. So Laura, I'll kick it over to you to kind of wrap up and provide us some next steps on what to expect.
Sure. So again, next week's call, there is a link to that Ron put in the chat earlier. I showed it on the slide. It will also be coming out in a memo to you in the next day or two, along with the video recording of this call. I would ask that if you've not seen last week's call or looked at the FAQs that are currently posted, to please go and do that. There were about 5 times as many questions posted in those FAQs and answered in that video that I think would be helpful to all of you. Also, if you have not yet engaged with your school treasurer or your athletic assistants, please do so. You may also want to touch base with your assigner to ensure that they've engaged with us and have started the process of getting their schools and officials pools set up. And again, we will be collecting that information via Google Doc, and that information will be going out soon. Lastly, if you would like to host a live training session and you have the functionality to do that, a space where people can use their computers and have a projector visible, please send me an email, elvermilia@ohsaa.org. And you can also, after visiting the DragonFly athletics.com/Ohio, if you have further questions or just can't make your way through navigating the videos or the printed step-by-step instructions, you can email them at support@dragonflyathletics.com.